Good evening. I'm ABC Special Correspondent Slurp Bofa. We're coming to you live from a crevice deep beneath the Arctic ice, where our two candidates are chained to stalagmites and are slowly freezing to death. This is the stage for the long-anticipated second Deprogram presidential debate, where a Slav in a comically oversized suit will face off against an Arab in blackface. The two warring audience factions eagerly await to see who will emerge victorious, covered in blood and wearing the pelt of the loser. The crowd is absolutely buzzing tonight, not from excitement, but because we've released a swarm of bees into the auditorium. With Election Day less than 2 months away, each debate is critical to win over the coveted swing voters who will decide the race. The weebs, the furries, and the notoriously fickle moon landing truthers. I will be moderating this evening. My job is to facilitate a respectful debate with a bare minimum of racial slurs. Before I introduce the candidates, allow me to share the rules of tonight's event with the audience at home. After asking each question, we'll play an excerpt from the second U.S. presidential debate at 1.5 times speed, after which the candidates will have 1 minute to collaboratively shitpost about the ghouls. Once that time is up, the candidates will provide their own responses to each question. Each candidate will be allowed one brief rebuttal or response after their opponent's answer. Additional clarification or follow-up may be allowed at the moderator's discretion. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have 1 minute to make a closing statement and beg for their life. There will be no applause from the audience tonight, as we purposefully selected people with a severe bee sting allergy, and they have all died while I was giving this introduction. Oh, wait. Now they have all died. By accepting my invitation to the debate, both candidates have agreed to accept these rules. Now please welcome Dr. Theory Man Hakeem. Say hello.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Off to a great start. And please welcome alcoholic poet philosopher Ugopnik.
I have the biggest crowds, believe me, the biggest crowds. The only crowds bigger than mine are those coming over the border to eat our dogs. I'm Alternative Universe Ugopnik, and I'm here to put this Hakimala in his place.
And I am Current Universe Hakeem, and I'm here to measure your skull. Come over here, you devil child of Yaqub.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Let's begin the debate. And let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy and the cost of living in this country. Some of you may remember that Joe Biden briefly served as a living president before becoming a meat puppet animated by dark magic of the deep state. Since Biden was elected, do you feel the American people are better off than they were 4 years ago? First, let's hear from our evil cretins.
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
Candidate Hakeem, turning to you. Having heard all these claims, do you believe the economy is on the right track?
My fellow Americans, let me first say, N-word, N-word, N-word. The solution to our faltering economy is inbuilt. Another N-word interjection. The economy of the U.S. is built upon the grease of Burger King burgers and the smegma of our beloved red, white, and blue Santa Claus. I don't know why I'm specifically talking about his smegma, but I couldn't think of another character that was. He seems like he carries plenty. because of drought. By the way,
Only Mrs. Claus carries more, dude.
I'm doing the Clinton, thumb up so he doesn't point because he thinks that means he's not a dictator all of a sudden or whatever the fuck. Because of drought issues across the U.S., Americans are showering less, and as a result, smegma has increased dramatically. The sheer aphrodisiac effect will increase birth rates, meaning more Burger King burgers will be consumed, and as a result, more grease. More grease means more fracking, less friction on the roads, and an easier time getting your hands into those yellow dishwashing gloves your mother never throws away for some reason. I see only positives, folks. All right, vote for my animatronic Five Nights at Freddy's smile, and I'll make sure the grease never ceases to flow. The joking aside, the American economy is in the shitter. It's been for years. They're kind of resting on their laurels as the former largest economy on earth, but they're not doing very well. The American people have repeatedly paid for the failures and mistakes of the capitalist class and have always lifted the burden of lost profits from banks and mega corporations. All the same shit you've heard like a million times over. Inflation makes this much worse, and of course it's profit seeking from these same mega corporations, and again it's the American working class and the international working class that has to carry the burden on this. Kamala, I don't know why the Americans make A's all for some reason.
Not all of them. We have a bunch of different kinds of A's.
I see.
Makes perfect sense.
You're the only A in my eyes, Habibi.
Oh.
Kamala's
A's hole.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Kamala's real answer, by the way, is just empty promises. The same shit Biden did. Same shit even that Obama did to a lesser extent. But he's just sassier ethnic skin, so I guess it comes off better.
Or black man, where?
But yeah, the Kamala does have good PR people, and she's been coached well. She's been pulling the Obama nonsense, and it's very easily gets eaten up by the liberals. I like how, by the way, they completely crossed over the fact that Trump is so rarely right in these debates or conversations, but he was very correct to state that prices are like 70% risen compared to before, even though inflation is technically 10%. And nobody, even touched that point before moving on to the immigrant nonsense. I yield the floor.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation. I'm not sure I'm ever going to get that image of Santa Claus out of my mind, so thank you for that. Turning to you, candidate Ugopnik, what are your thoughts?
Okay, do not believe a word this Hakimala says, except that last part where he said that I'm actually very smart and I said all the correct things. Yesterday, though, he was Arab. Now he's African Asian American. Yesterday, he was a doctor. Today, he is a servant of the undead Prince Biden. They are the same. Biden is simply wearing the skin of his former vice presidents. Oh, how I miss him. How I long for the nights where I wrote my epic dunks on his aging brain. How I miss lamenting over his son's misdeeds and his connections to the Ukrainian deep state. I've been greatly wronged by this mid-race change, but nonetheless, I promise the American people, the true patriots, as always, will come out on top. But regarding your question, Slurp Bofa, I love that you picked that, by the way. It's very fucking funny. Just ask the American people whether they feel any improvement. I heard many people are saying, smart people, working people, real patriots, that this has been the worst president in American history. I proudly disregard the fact that while certain aspects of our great empire, the great democracy, can be slightly altered by the person in charge, the system as it is inevitably degrades either towards further imperial expansion to support its standards or the cannibalization of its own working class as to preserve ever deteriorating status quos. Further on, because I am incredible, I am simply the best, I will continue to present myself as one-man solution to an unmanageable system, which has, in our vanity, completely overthrown human governance over its own destiny in the name of eternal growth of the profit margin. The sweet, sweet profit margin. No, it is me, not the other candidate who will save us all, because it is me who will speed up the process towards full barbarity. I am you. I am your truth. I am what empire demands, and I shall feed it the bodies of those we deem un-American to the God Emperor. I mean disenfranchised masses, only so that this thing can run a little bit, just a little bit longer. And contrary to my opponent, I speak truth, bigly, the biggest truth, and that is that it's all the fault of some other people, not us or the system that is causing this. And contrary to my opponent, who is afraid of China, I will speed up this eventual deterioration of our social norms in the name of some absurdist past we wish to return to. Voting for me is simply the bare, naked future which awaits you. I just want to give it to you quicker, because the American people don't want truth. They want a way to cope. Make America cope again.
Again, with the slogans, if you remember, dear listeners, from last time, Ugopnik did indeed come with the harder slogans. Comrade Hakeem, let's step it up, shall we? Now let's move on to a topic both servants of evil touched on in their responses: tariffs. Trump has called for tariffs on international goods across the board, even going so far as to say he'll double some tariffs all the way up to 20%. Harris argues this will mean higher prices on food, gas, and other essentials. That being said, the Biden admin has kept a number of Trump tariffs in place and imposed increasingly severe tariffs on Chinese goods. Let's hear from the freaks.
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. "Thank you, President Xi!" ! When we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it, and it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, they have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
Candidate Ugopnik, starting with you. Do you believe aggressive tariffs are the right approach?
Of course they are. I love my tariffs. I have the best tariffs. The world owes us everything, and we will tax them for it. Some might say that aggressive policies to stop a deteriorating economy like this is just putting band-aids on a tumor. Well, what if I tell you China and NATO will pay for these band-aids? Who even wants to remove the tumor? I am doing good with this tumor. The tumor gives back to its loyal followers. Isn't that the American way? Eat or be eaten. So I say charge all foreign countries higher tariffs, make them pay for our beautiful, incredible, biggest band Band-Aid ever. And if it causes irresponsible pain towards every consumer in our country, so be it. Because we will have shown that we've got the biggest dick in the yard, even if we can't feed ourselves enough calories to get it the fuck up. Not me, though. I have the greatest erections. Ask J.D. Vance. He knows all about my erections. Rubs himself on couches just thinking about me. I am irresistible. This is not a cope, but the American people must cope. Make America cope again.
Compelling argument from the candidate in the very sharp suit. For those who are listening on audio, you are missing out. Candidate Hakeem, your response.
Tariff? More like terrorists for the Chinese communists to take over our nation. Woo! I did not look up words that rhyme with terror. Shut up. Okay, look. We want negative tariffs. The American government should subsidize Chinese industrial goods coming into the U.S. so that we can further deindustrialize. We're already like 70% of the way there, so why does it fucking matter? Back to reality, though. Of course, the tariffs are going to mess up the American industry, but that's their issue. Why are they framing it as a competition for the 21st century? Work together, you dumb fucks! It's the only way of making your empire still relevant, or retain at least some relevancy. I'm too sick for this, by the way, to yell out loud, but I'm just going to let you know. China lives rent-free in their heads. Harris goes on to be like, Trump thanked Xi. Oh my god, he fucking thanked Xi. Okay, and? As if that's like what? Are you not supposed to be able to comment about any other leader? Is it un-American to do so? I don't get the argument she's making.
We can't rely on anybody else for anything, or where we are soft and America has fallen.
Our cock is smaller. Literally, our dick is smaller. I unironically believe it's all just a big dick contest. Well, Marx did not consider cock sizes. Okay, he should have consulted with Freud.
Good point.
We all know Harris has the largest, though. She dodged the question of why they kept the tariffs. By the way, the Democrats kept the tariff. Yeah. She completely dodged it. It was a direct question. She completely dodged it. And as for what Trump was saying, God, I wish she was a Marxist, Donald. I really wish.
Speaking of the Marxist statement, I would like to touch briefly on something that Trump did mention in his last response. We all know that Kamala's father is a Marxist. This is also true of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. What I'd like to ask you two tonight is very simple. Has the Democratic Party been infiltrated by radical, liberal, fascist, communist Marxists? You got Nick?
They are all Marxist, communists, bastards, and anarchists. Some are even worse. They're listeners of now you play drum roll, Deprogram. My opposition is fully infiltrated by whatever political ideology more than 51% of my potential voters despise. I am the greatest at putting labels. I have the biggest labels. The other day, my beautiful wife, Ted Cruz, told me how well his labels work over in Florida. So I took his idea, as all good husbands do, and proceeded to throw words I fully don't understand at my opponents, because I know the vast majority of my voting body would have read one book if they had read exactly one book more than they have. Sometimes I wake up and I can't believe this shit works. But then I go to my shrine dedicated to the OG of all OGs, McCarthy. I have the most beautiful shrine to him, so beautiful that when Xi Jinping once visited, he said, and I quote, "Dude, what the fuck?" And I said, "If you can have your Mao guy, I can have my McCarthy guy." He said nothing. I completely defeated him, and I will defeat him again when I come back to power. Anyways, China knew its place when I was president. Today they don't. Oh wait, did I start rambling again? Sorry, I get all bricked up when I talk about my relationship with China. Where was I? Oh yes, I understand. I run one of the most politically illiterate countries on the planet, and that throwing any terminology around through which I call my opponents that thing, whatever that thing is, they'll all just gobble it right up. It's what a lack of class consciousness does to a motherfucker, I guess. I wouldn't know because I have the biggest class consciousness, just for my own class, of course. Anyways, the people ask and I supply them with cope. No idea why all the communists always come into my replies and say, I wish, just like Hakimala just did whenever I call someone a dirty dog-eating commie. Strange people. But hey, whatever lets you cope. Make America cope again.
We need more Jihadi Yugopnik. I like the gun waving. Anyways,
that is an airsoft gun, dear people watching. That is an airsoft gun.
Right. For all intents and purposes, it is an airsoft gun. Wink, wink. It is only an airsoft gun. It is definitely not loaded. Wink, wink. All right. Look, if your ass is fat, and I mean PHAT, fat, you're a communist. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry. These are things passed down the tablets. Okay. Have you seen the moderator's dumpy? Please, Mr. Moderator.
You think I'm some dancing monkey to perform for you? For your sexual perversions?
Yes, you are, God.
Now, after, without even being asked, I pulled back from the camera and started showing my dumpy. Jesus Christ, man.
The moderator's dumpy is quite the goddamn. So everyone knows that Marxism is an autosomal dominant trait passed right down next to the hourglass and anteater foreskin genes. They're right by each other, by the way.
The what?
You heard me. The anteater foreskin genes, right? Mm-hmm. You seem to focus too much on the hourglass. I'm telling you about that. I've seen yours, JT. Anyways, excuse me. I mean the moderator, of course, which I have no sexual relation to.
We would have disclosed this, dear viewer, if this were the case.
In fact, we should carry out government testing to ensure only the baddest of the American public with tried and true communist traits are joining the Democratic Party. Sadly, though, it isn't genetic, and the parents of both Buttigieg and Kamala should have forced either more books down their throat or at least beat them a little. I don't know. one or the other.
A strong traditional argument from the communist candidate.
If you're a Marxist and your kid isn't one, you should have beat them more. Circa 2024, Hakeem, okay?
Exactly right.
I'd like now to turn to the issue of immigration and border security. As you know, this country was built by immigrants, mostly slaves and indentured servants. We don't like immigrants anymore because they're yucky and different. Most of them have never seen a Whataburger. The Biden regime recently adopted hardline right-wing border policies, attempting to stem the flow of immigrants from Central America. Let's hear from the ghouls themselves.
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people on
I'm taking it from
television
the city
saying the
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Let's start with you, Hakeem. The immigrants are eating the dogs. They're eating the cats and the hamsters and the parakeets and even the seagulls, God help us all. How would you address the issue of migration and stop this epidemic of gerbil gobbling?
Look, of course they're eating them. They're delicious. Dear moderator, have you ever gobbled my favorite member of the gerbil family, the MOBA?
What is the MOBA?
Gobble my nuts!
That doesn't
What? I don't know. Because I don't know. Gobble, gerbil, and MOBA.
I win this debate.
One more outburst like that, and I'm going to eject you from this debate.
Can you tell I'm feverish?
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the matter at hand, I think we need more border guards, more beautiful border guards. They're so great, our border guards. We just have the most wonderful. I mean, we have a beautiful wall too. Hold on, why do I sound like Trump? I wonder. Who could have possibly thought? Anyways, look, what is the number one way of preventing people from going anywhere? It doesn't matter where it is, any public space. Jehovah's Witnesses. Look, you need to airdrop thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses and hell, maybe even some Mormons just for the fuck of it, and have them staff the border wall at all hours of the day. Anyone who comes in will be subject not to an interrogation, but a several-hour discussion on the nuances of how the fuck the Tetragrammaton supposedly starts with a J, a letter that doesn't even exist in Hebrew. Watch immigration in the U.S. fall overnight, and with it the entire agricultural and what's left of the manufacturing sector, as cheap labor runs this cursed economy.
Like,
Also,
ironically, you could get like just massive TVs, right? And then stick them to the border wall and just play continuous footage of some of the most impoverished places in America, and then on big loudspeakers just scream, "This place isn't that good. Seriously, it's not that good. Go home. It kind of fucking sucks, okay? Go home. This place kind of sucks."
That would be scary. Flashing lights and that, and big scary voice saying, "This is what awaits you beyond the wall. This is what awaits you beyond the wall."
Because it would be true. It would be insane, but it would be true.
That is my concluding statement.
Thank you for
I am gooning.
As are we all, dear listener, as are we all. Moving to you, candidate Ugopnik.
I mean, of course he would say this about immigrants. He is one of them. Wait, Jesus. Why are you shouting in my microphone so hard? I just said he's one of them. I didn't mention race. I swear, this team we hired out of Israel to do my PR are all just a bunch of fucking SJWs. I thought Israelis loved when we hate on the Browns, but I guess it's not too good when I do it out in the open, but it's okay when their leadership harps on and on about killing everyone in the Strip. Why they want to kill everyone in the Las Vegas Strip is fucking beyond me. But hey, if they're paying, they're playing. Wait, that's not the same thing.
Oh dear.
Shit. Anyways, immigrants bad. I don't like them. They talk weird, and I never met one. That's why it's so easy to paint them all as an easy target for our confused masses, especially in less diverse parts of the country. Wait, what the fuck? Now I'm giving away my entire fucking power level thing. Well, man, what is going on? I can't cope. Help me. Like, so I guess make America cope again. Make me cope again. I'm glitching. You can.
And we'll shut off the candidate's microphone for now as we reboot the candidate on the right.
I love Hugo's vinegar strokes.
I would like to turn
back.
now.
Press Y if N-word acceptable. Press N if N-word acceptable. I am Republican robot. There is no other option. Jesus Christ.
Thank you for
I'm
going
to get so much flack for this.
Yes,
I'm
you
playing
are.
a character, you stupid fucking imbeciles. Okay, sorry.
You heard it here
these
first,
are your true
audience.
beliefs.
Ugopnik hates you all. I'd like to turn now to something I think most Americans can agree on. Fascism is good, and they want more of it. Trump says he'll use the National Guard, local police forces, and even the military to root out internal enemies and deport them. Let's listen to the logistics of how that would work.
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down, all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof, and we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall viult crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
Well, we didn't actually hear how these mass deportations would work. So, gentlemen, I'll turn to you. Ugopnik, how would you root out millions of enemies of the state?
Finally, a good fucking question, okay? It's rather simple, really, though I had to go through months of copyright issues on this fucking topic. When I told my team what the plan is, start of slowly talking about deporting only the so-called violent criminals and unemployed, undocumented immigrants. Then once our population gets used to mass deportation, prison camps where nobody knows what the fuck is happening start erupting. We start arresting political activists in the name of state security, paint them all as allies of these violent thugs and so on, just to eventually slowly expand our definition of the state's unwanteds to all aspects of society, further entrenching our power while receiving billions from large capital and from seized assets of said undesirables. But as I said, man, dude, I had to pay so much fucking copyright money to some guy from hell who called up my office and said he deserved all the royalty rights because he thought that up first. Some guy, I don't know, named Huttler, I don't even fucking know. He's German. I don't fucking like Germans. I stopped fucking listening. That Merkel lady said bad things about me, so all Germans, same thing. But yeah, now that I have that copyright issue taken care of, the key to this operation is the beginning. Start normalizing the state doing crazy violent shit like this, and one by one we will remove every group we don't like on the basis of ethnic belonging, political ideology, or anti-government stances until there's nobody left to speak up. And then finally, America will be able to cope again.
I've just heard from backstage they're asking a follow-up question. Who exactly would be left in the country once you were done with these purges?
As I've said many times, but only to people in my project 2050, okay, much more advanced than this pathetic 2025 thing by Donald Trupururu. Eventually, you're just a bunch of dudes, unironically. Eventually, if you kill absolutely everybody that's different in 200-300 years, you will also have to kill the women. So it's just going to be a bunch of guys left, okay? So that is why, unironically, the long-term future of radical xenophobia and hatred-based fascism leads to a gay empire that eventually dies off. I'm not even kidding. If you really follow the logic through on the end, I think we talked about this on some other episodes. You are just left with a bunch of fucking dudes. That's it.
Which, while it will burn brightly and briefly, we have to remember that dudes do indeed rock. So that is a compelling argument for a fascist regime. Candidate Hakeem, your thoughts on these pogroms?
All right, so we'll pay them in TikTok clout, which is the universal answer. I gave this answer last time, but I will defend it. Every deported immigrant gets 1 million likes off the get-go. I don't even know if that's correct English. And we'll even get them in a long and irritating email chain with some knockoff makeup brand that pretends to want to sponsor them. Okay?
Dear vlogger, we appreciate your content.
Exactly right. Dear, insert name here.
Yeah.
My God. They'll leave by the millions. And with that, we'll bring back all American thirst trapping and exaggerated food reviews as God intended it. After all, the U.S. has been an occupying power on the continent for all its minorities since its inception. What's a few more door-to-door visits? Being serious though.
Profile-to-profile visits were like that.
Exactly right. She said, turn the page on the same old tired rhetoric is incredibly rich coming from a Democrat, honestly. But the thing I don't understand about these fantastical ideas is how would this, even if you were to carry it out, how would this be organized, just logistically, right? Aside from the point that your economy needs these people, makes no, like, anti-immigrant rhetoric really is some of the lowest hanging fruit there is. Yeah. I don't know, I generally don't understand how people fall for it.
It's very stupid. And it's like, I mean, what happens, like, in Texas? Like, sorry to say it, you deport all the immigrants, all of the lawns are going to be overgrown, all that, stuff like that. These people don't want to do their own work. Are they suddenly going to go and do all the, the honest, backbreaking work themselves? No, absolutely not. It's goofy.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, some people bring that up as the relatively core difference between Democrats and Republicans. Like, they're both fiends, obviously, but Democrats understand the basic logistics necessary to keep the fiendish empire going. Well, Republicans, especially like the Trumpian category of Republican, just want to go super fucking unhinged, and they don't care even about these, like, again, logistically important aspects of running empire. So they will even get rid of those as long as it means that they get into power. It's basically a dumb guy talking to a really, 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 really dumb guy.
Let's move on now to something of a common occurrence: politicians flip-flopping on their stated goals and values. Kamala Harris has been particularly bad on this issue. She claimed she wanted to ban fracking. Now she doesn't. She said she wanted to decriminalize border crossings. Now she's taken an outright fascist stance. She said she would pursue mandatory government buybacks of firearms. She's flipped on that too. On nearly every policy position she held upon taking office 4 years ago, she has changed her stance. Let's hear her reasoning.
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increased by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
Here again we have deflection and not actually answering the question. So I'd like to turn to our 2 candidates here in the subterranean cavern. Gentlemen, your own positions seem to be fairly consistent. What is the difference between you and these 2 cretins vying for the most powerful job title on Earth? Hakeem, we'll start with you.
I was just going to say, normally I launch into the meme. They really tore Harris apart with this question. They just asked her, like, why she doesn't have a single consistent belief.
Which is good. That's the question. Those questions should be asked.
Exactly right, yeah. Trump has also did this a little bit. It's like, she's got no positions, which is, like, again, like, the clock is wrong, the broken clock is right 2 times a day, but still, that's a solid point. He's wrong in everything else, but that's a solid point. But also, by the way, she's so fucking unpleasantly disingenuous. She has this furrowed eyebrows, like, she has this, like, 5th grader I pretend to care about you energy, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, look, this election spectacle is a joke, but we still need to have our fun. The previous ones were somewhat well produced, but now we need, as a candidate for the presidency, a person, meaning me, who stands by what our noble constitution calls for, which is selling myself out to the highest bidder. If they put up enough money, I'll support Slovenian irredentism if I have to. Not that I do, per se, but Greater Slovenia up to the Serbian highlands is fully justifiable, and the Slovenska Dobranstvo did nothing wrong. But you know,
Joking off.
I am obviously joking.
Before we descend into civil war, candidate Ugopnik, please take it away.
Dude, all I'll say is that this immigration rhetoric was my favorite fucking toy in the sandbox. And just like they always do, these fucking immigrants, especially the brown ones, came and stole all my shit. Hakimala stole my thing. She's the biggest liar, stands for fucking nothing. I genuinely, like, as you could see from the actual clips, he really fucking misses Biden too. He fucking dreams about, he rubs one off every morning and prays to whatever fucking satanic deity he prays to. Please give me Biden back. 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 And yes, please give us Biden back.
I don't blame him. I mean, that was, oh man, what a... He was
life
able to get some
easy,
dunks. Yeah, he was getting some proper dunks on Biden. And because it's so easy, the guy wasn't there. But let's now turn to something that has made many Americans aware that sometimes things happen. On January 6, 2020, a mob of Trump supporters, spurred on by Trump himself, hit the griddy all over the Capitol. To Democrats, this was tantamount to the fall of Western civilization. To the Chuds, it was a first strike in the glorious revolution that's not actually a revolution because we want to keep the boot on our necks. To the Communists, it was another reminder that, god damn it, we're being out-radicalized by people who think drinking pasteurized milk makes you gay. I won't bother playing Trump's response because it was obviously focus group deflection and, frankly, kind of boring. Instead, we'll start with Kamala's response, which had a little more theatrical flair.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
A fine performance from the vice president there. Truly inspiring language. But what I think the audience at home will be more interested to hear is what our two candidates think January 6th and the increasing violence of the far right means for the future of the United States. Ugopnik, starting with you, is the U.S. more fragile than it seems? Could a more organized movement bring this government to its knees?
Here I felt like just doing a sketch would be too cheap because sketches about January 6th is, I don't know, very...
low-hanging fruit, yeah.
Extremely low-hanging fruit. So let me just, still answer your question, but from a more serious, with a more serious tone. The only thing that's fragile in the U.S. is the American State Department's ego. In an eternal drive to project power, it has put itself in a precarious position. If you want your people to believe in your exceptional position on the world stage as the most democratic, wealthiest, and most stable place on earth, you must upkeep the highest of appearances or normalize more insane aspects of your society. Read gun or cop violence. Now, while you can normalize certain aspects of your state, others you can't. It doesn't matter if Jan 6th was an actual coup or a bunch of conspiracy nuts taking selfies around the Capitol. Insecurity was projected to the American masses. That faraway thing that can never happen here, a coup, was televised live to every home in America and presented to most of them as just that, a coup. Now, while the American status quo is far from going anywhere for the foreseeable future, unfortunately, and while any sort of organized uprising would be currently probably crushed in a matter of minutes by the sheer power of the American military-industrial complex, what January 6th has shown us is what I said in the beginning of this incredible oh my God, I'm so incredible speech. Again, fragility. Fragility of the American idea of stability. And if a bunch of LARPers in the Capitol can bring up questions about the political stability of the country for so many Americans, it can be used by other movements to do the same. The ideological legs of American prosperity are much wobblier than we thought is basically the crux of what I'm saying. And while, yes, the Dems went into a full, like, ultra-hyper mode over presenting Jan 6th as a Republican mega failure, the rest of the world got to see just how quickly panic can spread through the good old US of A. And panic can be a tool. Anyways, make America cope again, because I started this thing, so now I have to say it after.
You gotta do it every time. Candidate Hakeem, your thoughts?
I will give a far more realistic answer than my colleague here. And it is as such. We need to recreate the January 6th event, but this time they should do that American butt beer chugging thing. But both
yes.
Democrats and Republicans, they need to stick tubes up their ass and drink alcohol. This is the only way we'll get over the mutual differences together. Unless we diarrhea together over the Capitol toilets, this country will never heal. Make America cope again? No.
Wait a minute.
Look,
Wait.
Look, have these people ever seen a real uprising? Americans are generally so overdramatic. A few people took selfies in a building and then dispersed. A real uprising includes CIA handlers, CIA documents, CIA fax machines, CIA assets, CIA planes and guns, CIA transcripts for the ensuing crisis. You know, the kind of democracy we promote around the globe. Yes.
It does sound like you are perhaps insinuating very subtly that the CIA is often involved in this kind of crisis. If that is the case, I would be careful what you say next. We now turn to two major conflicts.
But no, ironically, one of the hosts might have course corrected the conversation if some candidate in some universe actually said any of this, and be
absolutely.
There is no proof that the CIA has ever participated in coup d'états around the world. Yeah,
they've got
Johnny
some note
Harris
cards
has
that they
never
flip
made a
through.
video about that particular color revolution.
Lamau. We now turn to the two major conflicts that have captured the attention of the world. One is the horrific ongoing genocide in Gaza by the Israeli apartheid regime. The other is the slow, grinding war between Ukraine and Russia, which began nearly 2.5 years ago. Both Harris and Trump have repeatedly tried to claim that they love Israel more than their opponent, and that they're better at standing up to heads of state like Putin and Netanyahu. The audience at home understands that this is empty posturing, but I'd like to draw your attention to one bold claim made by former President Trump. He said that if he's elected president, he will end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Let's take a listen.
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting with your fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell, but after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president that doesn't know he's alive.
Truly a groundbreaking plan from the former president, asserting he will talk to one party, then the other, and the whole thing will be settled. Gentlemen, I'd like your opinions. First, is Trump right in his assertion that Europe should foot more of the bill to fund Ukraine in this conflict? And more importantly, how would you end the war in 24 hours? Hakeem, we'll start with you.
I will go a little bit off script here. Before and after this, they talk a little bit about Israel, and there's just a competition over who dick rides Israel harder. And she is such a piece of shit, Harris. Yeah. Trump is an idiot, but she is like intentionally malevolent with this kind of shit, right?
I purposely did not include those sound bites because it's just disgusting.
Yeah, but I just want to say, like, she rehashes all the tired points that have been debunked over and over again. It's a terrorist organization. History began on October 7th. The women have been raped, which, like, again, 6,000 reports have been released on this at this point. Of the 1,200 innocent, definitely not many IDF soldiers and reservists killed. Of course, by the way, she doesn't mention who killed them. Hint, hint. Look up the Hannibal Doctrine. I'm spelling it out. The Israelis killed their own people.
Yes.
In fact,
pretty clear at this point, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, they trip over themselves to support genocide. It's very, pretty much insane. Anyways, as president, I will end the war overnight by going into Ukraine's System 32 folder and hitting delete. The Black Sea will be enlarged, and we can build more Minecraft servers over what used to be the black soil of Ukraine. We can then take part of the Russian Arctic and turn it into labor camps for Twitch streamers as compensation to the Ukrainian people abroad.
What the fuck, man?
Every side is equally disappointed. Look, in all seriousness, I love you. In all seriousness, defunding the State Department and stopping color revolutions would be the number one policy for peace and stability internationally, followed by a deep defunding of the American military. That would be the second one. I love how the moderators go on about defending Ukraine's democracy. Motherfucker, what a democracy? What? Are we living on the same plane of existence? Oh my god. Anyways, and of course the guiding question bullshit is like, do you believe it's in the US's best interest for Ukraine to win? Again, in what fucking... Oh my god. Now, of course, Harris talks about sovereignty and border integrity, but supports Israel, of course.
Yeah.
The border integrity and sovereignty of the West Bank and Gaza? No, nothing. Nothing there.
Candidate Ugopnik, your thoughts?
I mean, when Putin called me and said what he's going to do, I told him, don't do it. Don't do it, or things will happen. So he didn't do it. While I was in power, I was good at flirting with our geopolitical opponents. I brought America into a true poly relationship with other countries, but everyone always knew we were the daddy. Now, after the corpse man ruled for 4 years, he broke up my beautiful relationship with President Putin. Angry about the breakup, Putin started ravaging the country whose name I only learned 2 years ago. Not only that, but we're paying for everything. Why aren't the Europeans paying? If they don't support the Ukrainians, it's their next on the line next, apparently. But we all just take that for granted. We're like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But anyways, if I come back to government, I will ensure our wider polycule remembers who the alpha furry wolf really is. And I will simply use my safe word on Putin, so he will have to stop, because safe words are sacred. Safe words are above international law. Safe words are above national interest. And Putin will respect that as the kinky little bitch he is. Then I will proceed to pull the chains of our European bitches to foot the bill. Joe Biden and Hakeem Allah were pay pigs. I fucking run OnlyFans. Make America come again. Wait, I think I changed the thing.
We're getting another request.
No, that was super hard, you know?
That was
Biden
beautiful.
was a pay pig, but
Yeah.
I run an OnlyFans, motherfucker. I get pay pigs. I am whatever, which is very ironic because Trump definitely did the pay pig thing like at least 100 times.
Oh, absolutely.
He just looks
Absolutely.
like the type. It's just like
Yeah, he's a sicko. But we have gotten another request from the deep state. Ugopnik, what is your safe word?
Trotsky was good. Because you would not say it at any point.
Yeah, absolute sicko behavior. Absolute sicko. Now, I'd like to end on perhaps the most existential question of our time, climate change. Both Trump and Harris say they're the best on the environment. Meanwhile, both of them continue to support and approve vast new oil drilling contracts and fracking projects, and neither has a concrete plan to solve the crisis. Gentlemen, how would you work to mitigate the climate crisis and leave a habitable world to the next generation? Ugopnik.
I think I've went overboard with this one, but okay, listen. I will make a deal with the environment. I make the best deals. The environment will stop being so shit if we build one giant Trump Tower, a Trump Tower that can house the entire world's population. A dedicated shrine to phallic representation and penis envy. It will run on massive 3 kilometers wide, 5 kilometer tall metal wheels, continuously driving in parallel to the sun as it gives us energy from our Elon-supplied solar panels, which will cover the entirety of our moving tower. And no, this is not me stealing the plot of Snowpiercer and turning into a tower instead of a train. This is my original idea. Okay. Anyways, once we do that, the environment, realizing it's not a factor anymore to us, will have to take my deal and give us all the vegetables with a 20% tariff. I will make Mother Nature pay, make America cope again.
Truly compelling, and I think achievable with modern construction standards.
I can absolutely see it, like, unironically, that we slowly degrade both mentally and ideologically through the eons to come, that there's an American president, if America still exists, that literally comes to power by saying, yo, like, the planet is slowly dying and we can't breathe the air or some shit. Like, I will supply every citizen with an AR-700 at that point to go and shoot trees. We're going to scare Mother Nature into stopping this
We're
pollution
going to win
shit.
this war.
I just imagine like a bunch of Americans driving on like electric scooters, opening fire on forests, like, like.
This is how the world ends, dear listener. Candidate Hakeem, your response.
I don't know about this climate change stuff because I like the ballsack detachment move personally. Maybe climate change is a good thing. Did you understand me, by the way? The ballsack detachment move. Moderator, are you thoroughly informed on the ballsack detachment move?
No, I am intrigued and slightly horrified at the same time. Please let the audience at home know what you mean by this ballsack detachment
the sun.
move.
Some Arab thing.
Absolutely not. In the sun. All right. Your ballsack will attach itself to your inner thigh. Mm-hmm. And you require a maneuver in order to do this incredibly tricky operation, which is the ballsack detachment.
A swift move of leg gymnastics, yes.
Exactly right. There's two ways of doing it. Either you do kind of like a
God, I wish your camera was on so you could demonstrate.
I thought I was doing it with a massive cock tower running around the planet. What the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Listen.
Though. I'm intrigued.
You need to do a sideways split. That's one way of doing it. Or the other way is the pinch. Imagine you're going to go and sprinkle some salt over a lovely meal. You grab that pinching motion and you grab right at the furthest edge of your scrotum, and you gently lift. That is the ballsack detachment movement. A move. In fact, it is taught to us in med school. So
Why?
maybe climate change. You know, we're actually
For yourself or for patients?
I mean, who needs to know? No, I was gonna say they do have a stupid thing. It was like, oh, you want to check out the cremasteric reflex? For you who are not in the know, it's basically you itch at the inside of your thigh and your ball sack rises. Right?
Oh yeah.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's demonstrate it. Demonstrate it on one of your classmates." That actually happened in my med school. Yes. Anyways. Which is standard practice. Standard practice. Anyways, back to the point, the matter at hand. Maybe climate change is a good thing. Imagine all the bus body odor we can maintain and increase. This is the kind of growth we need in this country. For the cold climates, we'll just face everyone's refrigerator heat exhaust onto the street, thereby normalizing temperatures and turning Alaska into a global wheat producer. So, okay, being more reasonable.
That's pretty good.
They're full of shit.
I don't know if it sounds like it could work. Like I'm stupid enough that like,
okay,
that makes great fucking sense.
Okay, neither of them care about the climate. They only care about capital. Please.
I think this is compelling, though. I'm going to write to Ted Cruz and ask if he'll pursue alfalfa farms in Alaska. Now, gentlemen, this brings us to closing statements after what has been a truly riveting debate. Let's first hear from the Agents of Darkness.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like, we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Hakeem, what would you like to say to the audience at home?
They call me lover. She called me Mr. Bombastic. Tell me fantastic. No, like, vote for me, and I'll make sure the goon sesh is lit. America is the nation of bountiful goon, and if I win, I'll make sure debate questions continue to be dodged and unanswered, as is our great American tradition. God bless fried ice cream, or whatever the fuck Americans eat. I don't know what they say.
That's right. Fried ice cream, fried butter.
Gooners unite.
Fried,
Those who know.
fried batter.
Long live Jizrael.
Oh my God.
Those who know. Jizrael.
Okay.
I said Jizrael. Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Hakeem. Ugopnik, your closing remarks.
I would like to say that presidents travel a lot, and my competitor is brown, so he will be stopped at a lot of airports, making it difficult for him to actually travel abroad and get deals done. That's why you should vote for me, because I never get security checked at airports. Yes, that's pretty much the whole pitch. Make America cope again. Thank you very much.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for a stimulating debate, and thank you to our audience at home for listening in and making your voice heard. You can cast your vote for who won tonight's debate in the official Deprogram Discord server, available to all patrons. Other patron perks include exclusive bonus episodes, as well as a live Q&A with us every month for our Habibi tier supporters. We'd like to thank our existing patrons for making tonight's event possible. We truly couldn't do it without you. This has been the second Deprogram presidential debate. Thank you, and good night.